to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead with the land acknowledgement. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue the tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support and look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Next item on the agenda, can we get roll call, please? And the city clerk's report and statement of conflict.
Thank you, Mayor Toms.
Here.
Noting for the record that Mayor Pro Tem Sasai is absent this evening. Councilmember Tave.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
Here.
Noting as well that Councilmember Murphy will be late to this evening's meeting. I do want to make an announcement about his attendance today. City Councilmember Murphy has advised the city that he will be attending this evening's meeting remotely under the provisions of AB 2449 for a just cause reason of travel while conducting official business attending the California Community Choice Association Conference as the city's MCE delegate. When he joins the meeting, we will have Councilmember Murphy just confirm any people attending or people in the room with him that are over the age of 18, and that's per AB 2449. So I'll continue with roll call. Acting City Manager Guillory.
Here.
City Attorney Kasher.
Here.
Deputy City Clerk Stone.
Here.
Mayor and Council, the agenda was posted on Thursday, April 11th at 4 p.m. with all legally required notices. Written comments were received in advance of the meeting and distributed to Council and staff, posted to the website, and are available to view in the back of the chambers. Does the Council have any conflicts to report this evening? Seeing none, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, we have no closed session tonight, so we will jump ahead to citizens to be heard. And this is where citizens may speak under any item not listed on the agenda. Time limit is 3 minutes and is subject to modification by the mayor. Individuals may not share or offer time to another speaker. Pursuant to provisions of the Brown Act, no action may be taken on a matter unless it is listed on the agenda or unless certain emergency or special circumstances exist. The City Council may direct staff to investigate and or schedule certain matters for consideration at a future council meeting. So, do we have any citizens to be heard? And then I understand that there may be, if you can fill out a card afterwards, that would be great.
Okay, Irma Ruport. Are you speaking? Oh, he's speaking. Okay, we just need your name for the record when you take the podium. Yeah, that's great. Go ahead and take the podium. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I'm Captain Matt Ludwig, Conner Cross County Fire Protection District. So I was tasked with this. We're going to be joint with the City of Pinole and Conner Cross County Fire Protection District. So we're actually going to start our fire prevention for our wildland notice. I do believe it was put out to your council members. I do believe it might be on the city's website. If not, there's a QR code. And for the people out in TV land, this is it. So wildland season, fire season is going to be upon us very quickly. So back when it was Pinole, City of Pinole, I ran the weed abatement field management, so I'm pretty familiar with it. We did go out today. We've been looking at our fire gates. We're looking to what needs to be mitigated. So we're going to direct that towards Conner Cross Fire and then into the City of Pinole. So we're trying to work on with a joint partnership to get that done. So we do have the prevention, the planning and the preparing. That's all listed out. You can find it on the QR card listed on below the flyer. We also, on May 11th, we're going to have an open house. So this is an open house. So this is actually pretty cool. This is the whole year. It's come full circle now. So come out, the citizens in TV land, come out and join us at Station 74 on May 11th, which is a Saturday. And we'll go ahead and invite you guys in and show you what Contra Costa County Fire is all about. So we look forward to seeing you guys. Everybody's welcome. There's going to be a bunch of stuff for kids to be there. And any questions you guys have, concerns, questions, they'll be more than happy to finish them up for you or answer them for you. Any questions from the council?
Yeah, Matt, May 11th, do you have a time?
This one, I do believe that, well, it's not on here, but I'm sure probably by noon.
It's in the morning.
It's in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, in the morning. Yeah, there's no, it just gives me Saturday, May 11th.
Okay.
2024.
Well, we have a few more weeks and we'll put that information out.
Yeah, so if it's on the city's website and to get out to the community. Another thing that I want to speak on too is the fire prevention and getting out into the community. We do have a fire prevention officer that is out here and is willing to share with the community to prepare their houses. I know I work out at Station 74, which is out in Pinole Valley. So we have a lot of wildland interface that is a high fire danger. So if you guys have a chance, get out, survey your properties, make sure you have a defensible space, one way in, one way out. Make sure you have a second way out. So those are kind of little tidbits, and you guys can find that on the website. Also, too, with Contra Costa County and CAL FIRE, they do have pretty much joint jurisdictions and stuff like that, and they'll give you more information on how to prepare your properties. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Any questions from the council?
And thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and public. Thank you, firefighters. Thank you for coming. I called them this evening to make sure they come down, and let's advertise at Station Open 74, May 11th, 11th, I believe. It's from 10 to 2, and they will have a lot of information for the public. I'm very, very much into prevention, Mayor and Council and staff and public, because we had a huge fire. There were 11 fire trucks 15, 20 years ago in my neighborhood. 4 houses almost burned down, and one of them was mine, almost. Yes, 2 of my dog houses were burned, and a patio of my neighbor, but believe it or not, fire season is coming on, and it's going to be bad this year, and we all know it. It's going to be dry. So I just want to make sure that the firefighters came in. Let's prepare, because it's going to be huge this season. And thank you, Mayor. And I just want to make sure that all of us show our appreciation to these guys, especially that partnership. We worked so hard to get there. And I just want to say thanks to all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers?
There are no more public comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to our proclamations. And we're going to start with Parkinson's Awareness Month. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States, and whereas Parkinson's disease is estimated to affect approximately 1 million people in the United States, and the prevalence will rise to 1.2 million by 2030, and whereas Parkinson's disease is the 14th leading cause of death in the United States, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And whereas it is estimated that the economic burden of Parkinson's disease is at least $52 billion annually, including direct and indirect costs, including treatment, Social Security payments, and lost income to patients and family members. And
Whereas research suggests the cause of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause and progression of the disease is still unknown. And whereas there is no objective test or biomarker for Parkinson's disease, and there is no cure or drug to slow or halt the progression of the disease. And
Whereas the symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing, and speaking, cognitive impairment and dementia, mood disorders, and a variety of other non-motor symptoms. And whereas the 2024 theme for Parkinson's Awareness Month is Pound ABCs of PD, which allows us to increase awareness of all of the intricacies of Parkinson's disease, as well as promote valuable resources. And whereas increased research, education, and community services, such as those provided by the Parkinson's Foundation and other organizations, are needed to find more effective treatments and to provide quality access to quality care to those living with the disease today.
now therefore I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Parkinson's Awareness Month in the City of Pinole, and I urge all citizens to increase their understanding of the disease and support all people living with Parkinson's. So did I have anybody here to receive this proclamation? Okay, I will make sure that it gets to the Pinole resident that requested it. So thank you. Were there any comments? Any public comments on this, maybe online? Okay.
No.
All right. All right, the next one is for Arbor Day. April 26th, 2024, whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-living oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And
whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And
Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas while most holidays celebrate something that has already happened and is worth remembering, Arbor Day represents a hope for the future. The simple act of planting a tree represents a belief that the tree will grow to provide us with clean air, water, cooling shade, habitat for wildlife, healthier communities, and endless natural beauty, all for a better tomorrow.
now therefore I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, do hereby proclaim April 26th, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Pinole, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And on this one, did we have anybody to accept this proclamation or any public comments? Okay, we will get this to the appropriate organization. And then the next one, the next proclamation is Earth Day, April 22nd, 2024. Whereas even the smallest of organisms, such as microscopic bacteria in soil, contribute to systems that feed and sustain life that should not be taken for granted. A reminder that we should be one with nature and not above it. And whereas this giving planet is abundant with shared resources for all people and life when respectfully harnessed and nurtured, and should not be exploited and depleted, but rather sustained, protected, and conserved for present and future generations by working with nature and not against it. And
whereas it is a human right to have access to healthy food, opportunity, clean air, and water, and putting profit over the health and happiness of people and all life is putting profit over the health and happiness of people and all life is unjust. And whereas the natural circular systems of Earth can offer lessons and solutions to rethink and reevaluate our current unsustainable systems and transition to ones that reserve and mirror natural systems while creating an economy and job market that is cleaner and greener. And
whereas the breathtaking beauty of this planet offers peace, solace, and a reminder of the need for more open and green spaces. And whereas the impacts of climate change and increasing extreme weather events are a direct result of environmental exploitation by human beings, yet human beings also possess the knowledge, power, and resources to reverse damage and heal the planet and protect its existence for generations to come. And whereas the 2024 theme for Earth Day is Planet versus Plastic, this theme seeks to unite everyone, students, businesses, governments, and individuals in an unshakable commitment to ending plastic pollution for the sake of human and planetary health, demanding a 60% reduction in the production of plastics by 2024, and an ultimate goal of building a plastic-free future.
now therefore I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2024 as Earth Day in the City of Pinole and encourage all residents and businesses to pay gratitude to this shared planet and reflect on what actions we can all take as a community to sustain and protect it. So I would like to invite the people with the City of Pinole that work on Earth Day, the celebration that we're about to have, and also our partners with Contra Costa County Department of Conservation Sustainability Group to come up and join us all for a picture. One more proclamation.
Mayor, we do have a online.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
We have a comment from a telephone caller. Last four numbers 5748.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Anthony, and I'm not sure what happened to the city council, but looks like we're down to 2 members now. And I don't know what happened to the other 2. I tuned in a few minutes late. But at least you got the voting majority there. If we need you, we can call on you, 2 astute women on our behalf. But just to backtrack and housekeeping rule, that thanks to our good friend Rafael Menes and his email bulletin that just went out a little after 5, we were able to get, and the public, the viewing public, to get the phone number and the actual PIN number to access the meeting, as well as for citizens to be heard. And as a general rule, in all counties and all city jurisdictions, they normally, under the Brown Act, give full disclosure of the phone number. And again, the city council, staff, mayor, they haven't posted on the television station banner or live the live phone number, only the Zoom ID number. But I think you need to fix that moving forward, and it has been brought up several times in the past months, in the past years, that we seem to dismiss the public with regard to being open and having a vibrant city with better communications and transparency. So before, during, and every citizen's public to be heard or major agenda items in the beginning and throughout the meeting, if not the middle or ending, citizens to be heard, I'd appreciate it, and so would the public, that those access Zoom telephone numbers be disclosed slowly, because they're not ever printed on the screen like they are in other counties, in Solano County, Sonoma County, San Ramon meetings, etc., and even Hercules, but not Pinole for whatever reason. But getting back to Arbor Day and Earth Day, I couldn't get the number fast enough for Arbor Day. So I just wanted to backtrack. Whatever happened to all those trees that were cut down along Pinole Valley Road in front of Ellerhurst School? Big, tall pine, mostly pine trees, and maybe some redwoods in there that got hacked and jacked down by either the city of Pinole or the Richmond West Unified School District, over a dozen big, huge trees across the new fire station. And we were told a year or two when they did that, they were going to be soon replaced with new trees. I didn't see any plannings or announcement of the replacement trees. So can you please direct staff or take a minute to explain what's happened with those trees for Arbor Day? And as far as Earth Day, what happened to the trash bins at the Pinole Parks, the new trash bins around the dog park, etc., because they continue being littered with hard plastic bottles.
Thank you, Mr. Vosbrink. I'll email you later this evening or tomorrow with a response on that. Okay, any other public comments?
There are no more public comments.
Okay. We have a proclamation honoring Dr. Nicole Barnett on her retirement. Is she here, or her representative? Okay, we'll make sure to get this to her, but we'll go ahead and read the proclamation for her. Whereas after an amazing 28-year career at Kaiser Permanente, Dr. Nicole Barnett, DHSC, an MBA, RN, CNL, NEA-BC, her credentials, has decided to retire from her position as Richmond Medical Center Chief Operating Officer, Chief Nurse Executive. And whereas starting in 1996 as an on-call staff nurse, Nicole began her Kaiser career at bedside, and whereas she quickly ascended through various operational and leadership roles in the Napa, Solano, and East Bay service areas, as well as the NCAL regional offices. And whereas Nicole was an integral part of the opening of Kaiser Permanente's Pinole medical offices and a leader in Pinole, she worked with the City of Pinole, businesses, and community members to ensure that the historical integrity and values of the City of Pinole were honored. And as the doors of Kaiser Permanente opened, the organization became a good neighbor. And whereas Nicole's passion for nursing excellence was first shaped by her mom, Patricia Boyer Jones, who served as a Kaiser East Bay nurse for 5 years and another 18 years in the former Kaiser Permanente, Ohio region. And
Whereas this inspiration led to her own nursing career with a particular focus on education, mentoring, and opening educational pathways for underrepresented individuals to have access to nursing and healthcare careers. And whereas her passion has remained strong throughout her career, leading to roles as adjunct professor and clinical instructor at the College of Marin, Touro University, Dominican University, Chabot College, Contra Costa College, Samuel Merritt University, and CSU East Bay. And
Whereas she has served as a mentor to many, from frontline staff to organizational leaders and physicians, and is most enriched when she can pour into the lives and career paths of others. And whereas Nicole is a proud lifelong resident of Richmond with Melvin and their 2 children, Daniel and Victoria. And whereas in retirement, Nicole intends to expand her commitment to service in meaningful ways. She serves on the boards of the East Bay Center for the Performing Arts and the Richmond Promise Scholarship Program. And whereas Nicole will be joining the executive team at Planned Parenthood Northern California, where she will provide strategic, operational, and clinical leadership to 17 health centers from San Francisco to the Oregon border.
now therefore I, Maureen Toms, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the entire City of Pinole, do hereby congratulate Dr. Nicole Barnett on her retirement and encourage all citizens to join me in celebrating Nicole's contributions during her tenure at Kaiser Permanente. So we will get this proclamation to her. Oh, yes. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Colin Lake, and I'm the Public Affairs Director for the East Bay Kaiser Permanente, and I'm just honored to be here. First of all, we want to just thank you with all our hearts for this recognition of Nicole. Nicole has been an amazing, I was going to say employee, but she's been an amazing champion on behalf of the health of our communities. And the proclamation that you just read is just fully expressive of the work she's done in the many years. I want to thank the entire council for recognizing her and for Mr. Murphy for assisting us in the process. But it's so hard for us to lose Nicole, but we're never going to lose her. She lives in this community. She'll continue to serve in this community. And it's unfortunate that she could not be here at this moment, but let me just express that she is completely grateful for this recognition. She will continue to work with you, even not under the banner of Kaiser Permanente. And then because of her leadership, Kaiser Permanente will continue to be your partner in this city throughout the process that we've engaged in. So thank you very much, and we accept this on behalf of her, and thank you so much for honoring and recognizing her.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have a presentation, county presentation of Pinole's Energy Enhancement Rebate Program and county sustainability initiatives. So, yes, I'll go ahead and introduce them.
Here we go. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm Lily Whalen, your Community Development Director. I'm happy this evening to introduce to you Jody London. She's a sustainability coordinator for the county, and then also Damian Hardman Saldana, and he is the principal planner for the county, and they'll be speaking to you about the county's sustainability initiatives, in addition to the pilot program we're running right now for enhanced rebates for Pinole citizens. Thank you.
Welcome, Jody.
Thank you, Mayor Toms and council members and staff. My name is Jody London. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for Contra Costa County, and my role is to lead implementation of the county's climate action plan, as well as coordinate with the cities and in the county on issues of topics where we can all agree. And you're going to see that we have a great collaboration going. We're really excited about the work that we're doing with Pinole, and we really want to recognize your staff, Mr. Hannum, Lily Whalen, and Kapil Amin, who are just really knocking it out of the ballpark for you all on climate and sustainability. So if we can go to the next slide. Tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about, as the mayor indicated, about what we're doing on climate action, and then really zero in on this partnership that we have going on the pilot program. So is it possible to, oh, okay, I see. Thank you for stepping in. I want to advance the slides if we can. There we go. So next slide, please. One of the biggest initiatives that we've been engaged in at the county for many years now is updating our general plan along with our climate action plan and our zoning code. These documents have been out for review since October. The comment period, if you're interested, closes on Monday, the 22nd. And on the next slide, there's a link for those who want to see the documents directly. Down at the bottom, you can see Envision Contra Costa 2040. Our new general plan has 4 themes in it that I think are we're very excited about: economic development, sustainability, environmental justice, and community health. We've actually prepared a series of videos, and those are also linked to in this slide, that you can watch to learn more about the work we're doing. But we think it gives us great integration, and it's really a wonderful way to think holistically about the goals for our communities. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, I work on the climate action plan, so I have to take a minute to talk about that. We have several goals in our new climate action plan. The largest emission sources in Contra Costa County of greenhouse gas emissions, after the large industrial facilities, which are regulated by the state and the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, are transportation, followed by buildings. So we have goals around a clean and efficient built environment, wanting our buildings to operate on clean energy, give people the best possible indoor air quality they can. We want to make sure that we're thinking about climate resiliency and using natural infrastructure where we can, and you have a lot of great examples of that here in Pinole and being right on the shoreline. I know you're always aware of that, and also being in the ridgeline, you're thinking a lot about fire and heat, right? Those are all things that are important, and it was great to have the captain here earlier. We're thinking about how to reduce solid waste, how to make sure that we're anticipating drought and using water efficiently. The clean transportation network is really important. When we went out and talked with county residents, what we heard from them is that they want to be able to bike and walk safely and take public transit where they can, but it's incumbent on all of us to make sure that we have a network. When someone's on their bike, if hopefully they're in a protected bike lane, when that lane ends, they don't realize it's because they just went from one jurisdiction to another. They just know that they don't feel safe anymore on their bike. So we're really excited to be doing this kind of collaboration with the cities to make sure that we're all on the same page. Thinking a lot about equity. You all here are right in the middle of some of the more historically impacted communities that, when you look on the maps that the state prepares of who's been the most harmed by exposure to environmental pollution, you've got Richmond below you, Rodeo above you, and then we have more communities in Contra Costa because we have so many industrial facilities. So we want to make sure that we're bringing everyone along and really looking out for those who've been the most harmed historically. And we've also heard from our residents that they want the county to be a leader on climate action. You know, a lot of people drive through Contra Costa and they just see the refineries and they think, oh, that county, they're just full of large industry, and they need to dig deeper, and we want to step up, and we're pleased to be stepping up with the City of Pinole to show that we are leaders and we are really addressing these issues. Next slide, please. This is where I'm going to hand it over to Damian Hardman Saldana. Damian is a principal planner in our department and our expert on energy programs. So take it away.
Thanks, Jody. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Toms and Council, for having me present on this wonderful work that we've been doing. And it's a good transition. Some of the biggest work that we do for meeting our climate goals is the built environment. About 1/3 of our greenhouse gas emissions comes from the built environment. That's a good general guide for most jurisdictions across the nation. So most of my work as a principal planner is really just focused on how do we reduce greenhouse gas emissions in our built environment. And one of the initiatives that the county's worked on was having an all-electric ordinance for new construction, which was adopted in 2022, and then we actually started doing that, which was a huge thing that we accomplished for our county. There was only one other jurisdiction in the Bay Area that was doing similar requirements for something above the state code, and then unfortunately, because of a ruling from the U.S. Court of Appeals, we had to rescind that. So we're looking at doing some new innovative things on that, and we've got some direction from our board to try to see what we can do to still meet our climate goals. We're also working on a REACH code, or an all-electric buildings policy roadmap, which all dovetails into this for existing buildings and new construction now due to the recent thing that we just had with our ordinance. And that's affecting about 70 or 80 jurisdictions across the state. So this ruling really impacts a lot of us. So we're trying to figure that out, and our county is trying to figure out what's the next steps on that. So how does that relate to Pinole, right? So here we are. We also manage a whole bunch of energy efficiency programs. Next slide. So a lot of our how do we address the reducing greenhouse gas emissions all comes to the building code on energy code compliance. So reducing greenhouse gas emissions by having more energy efficient appliances required in those buildings is one of the key strategic things. Also rebate programs. The next big thing is the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, which is all the 9 counties participate in it, and all the 9 counties provide input to the Association of Bay Area Governments, if you're not familiar with them, on how to actually run and manage that program across all the 9 counties. And they have a very large budget of about 25 to 35 million, depending on the year, that gets divvied out to all the counties to do the design and implementation of these programs. And so the counties participate in that, and that we also coordinate with all the cities, the 19 cities in our county, to educate them about these programs. We did that. We have a quarterly meeting with all of the cities about what we do with the city staff, about what we do on all the energy efficiency programs, and they get educated on these programs and help get the word out. And as a result of that, the city staff came to us about a year or two ago and said, hey, we got this extra money. How can we leverage what BayREN's rebate programs are? So what BayREN does is they offer rebate programs for single-family, multifamily buildings for energy efficiency rebates. And so they said, hey, we got this money, let's leverage it. And that's how we, next slide, got introduced to a program that we designed in close work with the planning department on this to create what we now have as the Pinole Energy Enhancement Rebate Program. So what we do is we leverage what rebates are being processed in the city of Pinole through BayREN, and then we leverage those and are providing additional rebates. And we'll talk about kind of a little bit of the details in the next slides. So this is more about what I already said here, but we're starting a phase 1 of our project. Started in January. We started doing marketing and outreach. I'm happy to say we have 5 applications in process for single family homes that are being processed at the county side to issue additional rebates. And then, so we're leveraging those incentives. And this helps meet the city's goals and the county's climate goals, and it helps us understand the cost of these retrofits is usually a black box. So one of the requirements for the county is we get to find out how much the contractors are charging for some of this work, and that will help us build build in better design programs that the county could do on its own on a wider basis and help inform not just the city of Pinole, but barrier wide, right, on better understanding of costs. That's why it's a pilot program, because we're not quite sure about cost stuff that's going on with these things. Next slide. So this is the single family rebate program, and this shows you on this slide, it tells you kind of here are the list of measures that are already included as part of the Barron single family program, and then there's an additional incentive for rebates that the city of Pinole adds on top of it. We did this based on cost analysis that we had already with Barron on some of the stuff. And the idea is to cover a majority of the cost to the city of Pinole resident that's doing these upgrades. So we're hoping that it covers at least 50% or more of those costs. In some cases, it may even cover the entire cost of that improvement, depending on what it is. Particularly heat pumps, we have a large amount of incentive for that, which is really great for the environment. Next slide. And this tells you the journey. So the single family property owner needs to go through Barron. They need to use a Barron participating contractor. Some people, why do I have to use a Barron? Well, they have better training. They'll install the stuff correctly. They'll do it right. It has a little bit higher quality assurance with the contractors that are participating in the program, and it's backed by the government to ensure that they do the work the right way, and we actually do quality control through Barron's program. So we have them include that. We get all the data from Barron that they've issued the permit, they've issued the rebates. We just piggyback off those rebates and pay it. It's very efficient on the administrative side. That's the whole goal. And then projects not requiring Barron participating contract, there's a few things. Induction cooktop range and heat pump clothes dryers are real easy for us to administer. You just have to show a receipt that you purchased it, you've installed it, and we could do that pretty quickly administratively. Next slide. Multifamily program. So Barron also has a multifamily program where you don't have to use a participating contractor. They do energy modeling, 10% energy efficiency they have to show in that modeling based on the design of the retrofits that are being made. Barron does all the technical assistance and analysis on that, and then they determine what the rebate amount is, based on other criteria such as geographical factors related to equity and disadvantaged community locations, pollution burden types of issues as well, so that it could increase the rebate amount even more. So we would just add an additional incentive to that once that project is completed. We're hoping to get at least 2 or 3 multifamily projects. We don't get a lot in the city of Pinole through the Barron's program historically, but hopefully with this additional incentive, it will help. Next slide. And this tells you the journey, which I kind of already described. Next slide. Yeah, and on the previous slide, actually, it says deed restricted, non-deed restricted. We'll talk about that towards the end of the thing, but that's basically whether it's an MCE project or a Barron multifamily project, there's an agreement between who's going to administer those rebates. And then low and fixed income properties. This is your low income weatherization program, which is administered by the county. Which is unique, actually. Most people don't know that most of their weatherization low-income programs are administered by a third party for all of the counties in most of the state. Our department actually does it in-house, which is really helpful. So one of the things we've added to it is if there's a weatherization project that occurs in the city of Pinole where they've gotten an application, we can leverage doing roof repairs, and electrical panel upgrades would be covered under this due to the next slide. And this is one of my last slides. So this just tells you kind of the overall how to get started. 1 to 4 units for single family, just defining what that is. So duplexes and triplexes would fall under single family. So at 5 units or more would be multifamily, and then deed restricted is whether it goes through MCE or through Barron's program, and we have an agreement with MCE as well. And then the low income. So this is kind of a summary of all of that. So it was a wonderful opportunity to have the city say, hey, we've got this extra money City Council had set aside for energy efficiency years ago that they just wanted to carry over in their budget. And we said, hey, a great opportunity for us to use that funding to support the city and for us as the county to get the information to understand how much these things cost so that we can actually see if we can build this out further. Sad to say, Bayron's single family program rebate program is sunsetting at the end of June, which was kind of a change just recently in the last 6 months for us. So we're already pivoting to see how we can change this program to move it through June 2025, to continue it, to see what measures we can operate independently as a county after we learn from learning what we're doing right now with Bayron. So that's the excitement of this, and we're hoping to get as many projects as we can to, because the more heat pumps we put into our homes, the more people get educated about the benefits of this. There are health benefits. I speak directly. I had asthma my whole life. We did an energy upgrade to my home, and my asthma went away. So there are major health benefits to having clean air in the home, having good HVAC and heating systems that are efficient and good for the environment. So thank you. That concludes my presentation. I think there's another slide there that says thank you. Yep. All right.
Thank you, Damien. Norma, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. First, a comment. I think one of the more helpful things that these kinds of programs do is having vetted, if that's the correct term in this case, having selected contractors or contractors participating in the program so that a consumer or property owner in this case can identify those readily, easily, because it's a world out there that one doesn't necessarily navigate regularly to identify a contractor that meets certain requirements the program has. So can you tell us more about those requirements? What gets a contractor eligible to participate in this?
Yeah, so they have to go through some additional training. If I recall, it's a 2 or 3 full day training that they need to be aware of. A lot of people don't understand that even though some cities get mad at me for making these comments, but even though you get a building permit for something, that doesn't actually necessarily mean it was done correctly. They will make sure it's done correctly, most likely on the health and safety perspective. Okay, it's not going to fall down. Oh, it was done structurally. It's good. But a lot of times they'll miss was the insulation actually installed correctly for that project? Did we do the ceiling, the ceiling, did we, seal all the envelope correctly? Is the airflow correct? Is it doing the right thing that's supposed to for that building? The reality is most building departments don't have the bandwidth to do those types of things. And we've done studies on that, and that research has shown that. So what this does is it gets contractors that are really in the energy efficiency space. They live and breathe this stuff. They care about the actual building, the comfort of your home. You're not picking up the phone and getting, the cheapest contractor in particular. Yes, these contractors may be a little bit more expensive, but they're actually going to do the right work correctly, and you'll have more long-term benefits. Because if your ducting is leaking in your attic, and your attic is full of dust, and you're blowing ducting from your air conditioning down, you're just bringing in all that dirty air into your home, right? So a lot of people don't even think about that stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think about it. Something that I'm not clear about, because I'm looking at the slide that shows how to get started. I imagine this is going to appear on our website as well. So single-family property, in parentheses, is 1 to 4 units. So what is a unit? What is the unit in that single-family property? Is a question.
Yeah, sure. It has a physical address, right? So it is a housing unit. So if you have a duplex with 2 addresses, 1 unit below and 1 on top, that would be a single family. So if you had done a portion of that project in that, it would be defined as single family for this program. Does that make sense?
No, not really, no.
Okay.
Try again. Give me another. So I think of single-family property as 1 unit. Well, so that's why I'm having trouble.
Yeah. So in this context, single family is not just 1 unit. It's 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, or 4 units. So a 4-plex would be under the single family program for rebates.
Okay.
Is that sorry?
Thank you. Thank you. That helps me a bit more.
Yeah.
And now, as well, non-deed restricted and deed restricted. Can you please explain that again?
Yeah, sure. So deed restricted usually has low income requirements on it. it says there's deed restrictions that says, hey, a certain number of units have to be low income. If they're low income, if they have to meet that low income criteria and they have a deed restriction on them, that project is going to be handled by MCE, your clean energy provider for the city of Pinole. It's not going to be handled by Bayron's multifamily program. It's just they have an agreement between the two of them. If it's deed restricted, it goes to that program and gets rebates, and the rebates are almost the same. It's almost the same program. And then for non-deed restricted, it's just a multifamily building with no restrictions on it. There's no requirements. Then they can go through the Bayron program. So we would facilitate that when they submit their application, and the contractor would most likely know where it's gonna head out. And also when they submit their application through Bayron, they would get referred to MCE if needed. So if they submit it through MCE or Bayron's multifamily program, we'll refer who gets what. It's kind of like just where the money is at to provide the rebate.
Okay, so I ordinarily think about deed restrictions having been created when there is a property that has involved an agency like a city.
Right,
making that
inclusionary
property-
housing
yeah,
policy.
Yeah, okay, making the property affordable, for example. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Damien. And are there any public comments on this item?
No, there are no public comments.
Okay, with that, I want to thank you both for coming and providing information on this really interesting program. Yes, and see you tomorrow. Question for our city attorney. Can we proceed with two of us here?
I believe, assuming that Councilmember Tave is still here in the building.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
okay. That he's not on.
since it's a presentation and we won't have any voting?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is an update on the Pride and Juneteenth events.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff, and members of the public. This evening, I will provide an update on Pride and Juneteenth. Next slide, please. Before I get started, I will provide an overview of last year's event. So last year was the first time that the city hosted a Pride celebration, and it included a celebration for the city's 120th. Last year, I think we called it the birthday, but I think it was so we incorporated that. We incorporated Juneteenth, and we incorporated Pride. So this year. So that was last year. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So last year we hosted the event in June, and it was hosted at Fernandez Park. It included a live band, food trucks, children's activities, and community organizations. And the event had over 400 participants. Staff debriefed on last year's event, and we are planning to build and expand on last year's event. And this year we're looking to incorporate a little bit more of a balance, but for the event that will include components and activities and resources for Juneteenth and Pride. Next slide, please. So these are the details for this year's event. The event will be held at Fernandez Park on Sunday, June 9th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. This will be a family-friendly event that will incorporate Pride and Juneteenth. And this will, again, include a little bit more of a balanced activities for both of those components. Staff is currently working to secure vendors and performances, so that's something new that we will be incorporated into this year's event. School is also out, but we are trying to coordinate with them before they go out for the break to see if any of the clubs would like to table at this event. The event will include 2 live bands, food trucks, the children's activities, lawn games, local businesses, organizations, and performances. The children's activities will include face painting, balloon twisting, a petting zoo. We'll have arts and crafts that will incorporate both themes, and then we'll also have an entertainment station. Next slide, please. This is just an overview of the event map. So we'll have the band performance will be in the gazebo. We'll have lawn games in the middle. We'll have the children's activities in the barbecue area. The basketball court will be reserved for information booth. We'll have any city staff that want to table will be in that area. The petting zoo and the entertainment center zone will be on the baseball field. And then the any community organizations and vendors will kind of be lining the grass area. And then the food trucks, of course, will be in the far on the path as well. This here is an overview of the event cost. So the funding for this event was allocated in the special events budget. So here it shows the live band will have a cost of $4,000. Our children's activities would be $6,150. Event supplies and decor is estimated around $500. And then our senior center team over the volunteer team and led by the chef will be making some pride cookies, which we incorporated last year, and that's the cost for that would be $350. So total cost for this event is estimated at $11,000. And this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. So I'm always curious how cities count crowds. So how did you, people don't register for this event, so how can we say 400 participated?
Correct. We don't have like a ticker or anything that we're counting our crowd. We kind of looked at it based on our previous events and where we are with the crowds. And those are just estimates of what we were providing, of what we're estimating that the crowd was that day. Also based on how many the activities that were offered. We have the canvas painting as well, which is one of the activities that will be in the children's activities that kind of based on how many of the canvases were kind of painted during that time. In combination with our cookies, we had over 400 cookies that were made. So that also gives us another idea of how many people participated. So it's just kind of a general estimation that we provide.
Thank you. Some people double up on those cookies.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Councilmember Tave, any questions?
None.
Okay, I want to thank you. I'm looking forward to Sunday, June 9th. Noon to 3. It was a great event last year, and I'm looking forward to this one. And we have public comments.
Yes, Irma report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff, and public again. Just to let you know, I am on the Community Services Commission. I got on last year, so yeah, and I did attend the Pride Juneteenth event. I have a couple of questions. First of all, let's get that advertisement and banners up around the city. Let's get excited with this event. I think it's a superb event. A lot of people were there. I think more than 400. Maybe we should start counting people. The other thing I want to say is I love the idea about the map and the lawn games. I have a question, and maybe it might have to go to the city attorney. My question is it possible that the lawn and grass area should not be for vehicles? And some events do put vehicles and cars and stuff, and it's so packed, people don't have anywhere to sit because there's so many people. I know last year it was a problem, even for, on the sidewalk, for even people disabled with wheelchairs and stuff, and a lot of people were just so crowded. I would like to see some kind of policy, no vehicles, or that on the lawn, so we can bring our chairs and sit on the lawn, because there was no place to sit. And also for safety reasons, just a suggestion, pass it on to the city attorney. Next thing I do want to ask is, I love the idea about the events having the cost. I think it's transparency. Let the public know how much it's costing us. And the other thing I want to ask is, Mayor, through you to the city attorney, that a lot of these events have policies that do not allow certain groups, students, to sell their, raise money for their fundraising, for their sports or whatever. Can we have a clear across policy for these groups, students? They're all on Nextdoor trying to raise money for their baseball team, whatever. A booth, maybe some of these groups come in with their uniforms and just introduce themselves. How open can we be to these groups and students that want to be a part of the community, so we all know who they are, and even for fundraising, rather than start a GoFundMe? I mean, let's help our community get better in this, Mayor, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Public comments? Okay.
Can I have the answer to me, either in writing at the next meeting or when the city attorney can answer?
Yeah, we'll refer it over to staff to have a discussion on the on how they're going to do the rules and whether or not it's necessary to restrict vehicles or not. So we'll have staff do a discussion.
Community Services Commission meeting in a week and a half, so maybe you could provide us that.
Okay, thank you. Parking. Okay, we are moving along to announcements. Oops. And I just need to pull up my own announcements. This part always comes to me really quickly. Okay, I apologize for that delay. So for the mayor's report, I have a couple of things I wanted to share. Is that, let's see, our West Cap board meeting was canceled this week, or last week. Pinole Garden Club celebrated a very important birthday, and we provided a proclamation for them to present to their group at their meeting last week. I attended the East Bay Leadership Council series with Tani Cantil Sakaiui, and she is she's formerly with Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of California, but now works with the Public Policy Institute of California. So that was a very interesting presentation from her. I attended the Mega Mixer with Bayfront Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to see us get more involved in those events, because this was again in Hercules, and we need to bring them over to Pinole again. I attended last Friday, the Pinole Swim Center opened for the Pinole Seals for their very first practice. There was a delay for a few days, so they did have to open their season at another pool. I think they were at the college, but our swim center is one that we should be really proud of, and we have a really good partnership with the Pinole Seals, and I think we all need to recognize that. On Saturday, I attended the Tiny Tots open house and talked to some of the staff there and met some of the parents, and again, that's a really great asset that we have in the community. Let's see. This morning, wearing my day job hat, I attended an event that has a lot of crossover interest with the city, and that is with East Bay Leadership. I went to one of their committee meetings, and they had a presentation about recycled water, and there was a a study that's ongoing, and it's about to be released. It's a study with East Bay Mud and Central Sanitary District on recycled water feasibility. There's an evaluation on what the costs are, and a lot of the costs have to do with distribution. The distribution would be, pipes for where a user would use it. Some of their studies have big industrial users where it's more cost-effective to do such a recycled project. Here in Pinole, maybe if we did something for landscaping, but there would still be a distribution cost with purple pipes unless we have like water trucks to pick up water and, water landscaped areas. It probably isn't necessary now because we're not in a drought, but we will cycle into a drought period at some point. And I do recall the last drought that a number of people did go to Central San and filled up water tanks in their trucks just to water their own gardens. So, I think we have it on our CIP to, explore this for the city of Pinole, but there is going to be a study that our engineering folks can really, take off from what's already, the work that's already been done, and it doesn't cost us anything. So that's the end of my report, and the Mayor Pro Tem is not here, so I'll turn to Councilmember Tave. Do you have anything to report?
Nothing to report, thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
No report.
Okay, thank you. And I have no announcements, and we have no appointments. And council requests for future agenda items. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Comments from someone earlier during public comment reminded me that at some point within the past 2 or 3 years, there were some large, extraordinary, I'm going to say, because I don't know the brand name, trash bins that were placed on San Pablo Avenue, and they were part of a study, a pilot study. And I'd like to get an update on the results of that pilot study. There may be some bearing on budget requests to have similar type of bins placed elsewhere that would also be informed by the recommendations that were made by the Beautification Committee, more than 3 years ago, as well as by Friends of Pinole Creek Watershed, to place some of the bins in the areas where historically there has been a lot of a lot of litter that eventually gets into our streams and our water streams, including the creek.
I think we can ask for an update on that, whether it's something that needs to be agendized or can be confirmed, through email, and then, of course, put in the, the newsletter that goes out in case other folks are interested. That might be a way to approach it. So we'll tag that. Okay, any other?
No. I actually would like that to come to council
Okay.
as a presentation rather than a newsletter. And then and part of the presentation could certainly inform the city manager's report and other.
Okay, and we are going to be getting into budget season where we do talk about the CIP and the budget. We can ask that if it can be folded into that discussion. Okay, let's do that. Okay, and
Thank you.
no items, and I have no items. Any public comments on future agenda items?
Yes, Irma report.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, again, staff, public. Really quick, I attended the March 27th Financial Subcommittee meeting, and one of the things that I asked and requested, a grant writer presentation. We hired a grant writer last year. So if we could see it in the agenda, or maybe like a report or communications, to see how they are working with the staff. If they're looking for grants, it's working, because we need an update. If we hired a grant writer, what are they doing? You understand what I'm saying? And if they're also meeting up with the employees, because there's a lot of grants out there, as you all know. I've seen a lot of them. I used to work at a grant funding program. I've told you this before, Department of Justice, and I have experience in that. So I just want to make sure that we touch all bases. If we hired someone, let's bring them on board and tell them, what do we do next? And guide the employees to go out and get these grants. We need them now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to staff to see if that's something that's already a discussion is going to be included in the budget process or some other cycle where they're going to be coming and reporting out.
So we actually have a presentation by Townsend Public Affairs for the May 7th council meeting. So
I think we knew you were going to ask. May 7th agenda. Okay, great. All right, seeing no other public comments, we'll move to city manager report and department staff.
So I just have one update tonight. We are very excited to announce that after a competitive recruitment process, the city has selected a new community services director, and her name is Andrea Dwyer. She starts her role on May 6th, and she is actually here in the audience, so I'd like to invite her up to say a few words and introduce herself.
Hello, thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Andrea Dwyer. I am very excited to join the city of Pinole. I have worked, got my degree with Cal State East Bay in recreation management. I have been a part of agencies here locally, City of Hercules, City of Dublin, City of San Pablo, and El Cerrito. So I'm very excited to add Pinole to my list. I've overseen plenty of community services facets, including water parks, aquatics, childcare, facility rentals. So I am special events. So I'm excited to join the team. It was a very thorough and long process, and your staff has been amazing. And so you might have seen me at some of the meetings, but I am very excited to join on May 6th. So thank you for having me tonight.
Welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other reports from the city manager or department staff? Okay, city attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor Toms. Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, any follow-up public comments?
Yes, we have telephone caller, last four numbers, 5748.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, I got passed over. I just got passed over on the citizens to be heard caller, thanks to somebody there. It's an administrative error, I guess. But there was Zoom caller waiting after Ms. Rupert gave her report on suggestions for new agenda or agendized items. So I would like to comment on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Congratulate the person that just got appointed for the new community services director. And wonder why that didn't take too long versus our search that goes on and on and on and on now for 9 months for the city manager. But two comments. I wanted to ask the council and the city attorney, why can't there be more transparency and engagement with the public? And that should be an agendized item, you know, to do with the search for the new city manager or something else. And the public gets led on for months on end, and then finally you find out that some backroom deal was made to appoint a city manager or what have you. Case in point, Vallejo just went through what the city of Pinole went through, not identically, but with losing their city manager. So he had to resign, and in doing so, unlike Pinole, everything was validated and stated in an open public comment through open media and their website, but not Pinole. When Andrew Murray had to resign, or took it upon himself to resign one way or the other, unlike you got the full story from the city of Vallejo, and granted it was even more intricate than what happened to Andrew, our own city manager, Andrew Murray. You know, it listed the reason behind him leaving and his statement, as well as line items of all his compensation plans, whether it was a golden parachute, a silver parachute, vacation pay, what have you, for whatever, several hundreds of thousands of dollars. But several people have asked for more transparency and open communication and engagement besides myself with regard to case in point, what happened to city manager Andrew Murray. And I know Bob Kopp was one, and there's several other people that you know who they are, have asked, but, you know, mum's the word. And I think moving forward, before we appoint a new city manager, we have to, you know, clear the air and make sure we expose these things to the general public. So how can you gain their trust, whether you want a tax increase or something else moving forward? And I would like also a study on the Pinole Valley Road traffic light problem we have up and down Pinole Valley Road to eliminate some traffic.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vosbrink. Okay, we will move to the consent calendar. We have items 9A, B, C, D, and E. Are there any public comments or any staff members that want to pull anything?
Yes, thank you. We have a public comment from Irma Report on item 9C and 9D.
Again, thank you very much. For 9D, Mayor, thank you, Director Whalen, for this report. I think it was very detailed. I agree with some of these review and analysis, making Old Town a destination for people in and outside of town. There's a lot of suggestions about hosting special and pop-up events. It has all the listing there. The only thing I want to make a comment, Mayor, is on some of these resolutions, when you hire a consultant or add more people to the city as employees, sometimes reports come out and say, well, we should hire a special person to do this. It calls for a new city economic development staff member. In my opinion, we have no city manager. Freeze all positions that are not essential. I have some HR background, and I can tell you this is not the time to look into hiring other people, because when you hire that new city manager, he's going to do his own thing. And I would like for him to make some of these decisions. And getting back to this report, Mayor, I do think it was very thorough. I also was a past member of the Economic Development Affordable Housing Committee, just like Councilmember Norma Martinez-Rubin was. At the time we both served. And I can tell you that some of these things, like activities for community corner or other public spaces with special events, in my opinion, could be even referred to the Community Services Committee, or even establish an ad hoc committee of citizens who have some background in that business experience, instead of hiring here and there people who come in and have to learn what to do within the next 6 months and a year, and then they're gone. It's a waste of a lot of time. I think the people in the city here do have a lot of talent and skills. You go to the senior center, you speak to a lot of people who are retired, who have this background, and believe it or not, they want to talk. I think we need to do more reaching out to our community for some of these information that we want. And the last thing I do want to say is that one of the meetings that was scheduled and the summit meeting that was scheduled February 15th, 2024. I had a problem with that meeting. I didn't know about it. The public didn't know about it. It was only a certain group of invitees in this summit. And when I emailed Director Whalen, can I finish, Mayor? What happened is I emailed her because someone sent me that email of invite. Some went out in the public, told me about this summit. I emailed her. And one of the things that was said to me, which I was very offended by it, this is not a public meeting. Well, if it's not public, then what is it? The thing is, I went, after so much discussion back and forth. I want to thank City Attorney Eric Casher for filling in on some of this information, and I was able to attend. And one of the things at the summit, was 20, 30 people, because they were limited. I just want to know, why not have it at a larger place, make it public? And I asked a couple of you, and I'm not going to mention names, why wasn't this videotaped? Because we didn't have enough staff. Well, I counted about 8 to 9 staff members there, and 2 of them were from the cable. No videotape. Secondly, I asked someone else, why didn't we get this out in the public? Because this is a private. Mayor, I just want to, I can go on and on, and I know you're getting restless. I know you're getting restless because you were there. The fact that not all council members were invited. A couple of them didn't show up because they didn't know about it. So all I'm just saying is fairness, equality, inclusiveness. This is what we need in the city.
Okay.
Not separation. Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have Rafael Menez as well. Go ahead.
Greetings, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Rafael Menez. I'm a resident of Pinole, and I'd like to offer a few comments on items 9A, C, and D today. First, on item 9A, I wanted to praise the work done by the city clerk staff and the transcriber on transcribing my comments at that meeting. I felt like they conveyed the points I wanted to get across well, accurately, and clearly. So since I've made criticisms in the past when the opposite is true, I think that praise is also due when, it's done well. So thank you. There was a good job done there, in my opinion. Secondly, with regards to item 9C, the report on the economic development policy, and in particular, let's see if I've got the bookmark. Right. So on page 55 of 223 of the agenda packet, it's basically saying that the benefit of hiring an economic development director to basically coordinate city businesses and boost the downtown economic zone, basically, is that it would make it more likely for businesses to support a business improvement district in the future. I guess this is more a question through the mayor for staff, but how direct is the link there? Would it be reasonable to say that, it's usually expected that being able to set up events like this will make it 10% more likely, 20% more likely, 50% more likely that an improvement district will pass? Because it seems as though if the city is going to be taking on an ongoing expense to support the private sector, that I would hope the city would have a clear understanding of the benefit to the city as a government, as well as the city as a community, insofar as you could separate the two. And then finally, with regards to item 9D, the investment policies, I had some questions there the last time that was addressed with regards to the frequency of updates as to the benchmarks for the pension investment policy and as to updates for the pension investment policy. I noticed that the regular investments are going to be reported on a monthly basis rather than a quarterly basis, but it looks like no change was made to the pension investment policy, either in terms of the benchmark reporting time frame, the allocation of assets or the frequency of reporting. So I was wondering whether the city was still considering making changes to any of those categories, and if it wasn't, when it would consider making those changes, because I think given the decreasing time frame of the pension investment policy funds in particular, that the city should be taking an active look at changing its allocation priorities from what they were when the pension investment fund was set up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments?
No more public comments.
Okay, so I'll ask staff to respond to the two items. One on the economic development report, if you have a response, and then go ahead, Markeisha, on the last item.
Okay, regarding the investment policy?
Yeah.
Yes. So regarding the reporting frequency, all investment reporting will be on a monthly basis. So the quarterly report includes the city's regular investments as well as the pension trust. So that'll be included in the monthly reporting as well. So that'll change. And then as far as the allocation priorities for the pension fund, we do have a monthly, an annual review with PARS, who manages the pension trust. And at that time, we review the allocation strategy and determine if any changes are made. So that's when we would revisit that. So our next annual review would be in September of this year.
Great, thank you for that. Lily?
Sure, thank you. So the first item on the Economic Development Summit, that was an item that was in year one in our economic development strategy. And the intention was to bring together certain stakeholders, for example, the Small Business Development Center, East Bay Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center, the San Pablo Economic Development Corporation, Bayfront Chamber of Commerce, Contra Costa County. Those civic organizations, bring them together to let them know about the city's economic development strategy and solicit their support. So the intention of the meeting was not a public meeting. The intention was to gather those folks together, to have a conversation with them, and to build relationships, essentially. And then the other item on, I think there might be a little bit of confusion. If I followed the question from Mr. Menace, I think he was referring to Initiative 2C, where we indicated we were exploring a partnership with California Main Street. And so we were indicating in that item that we explored that partnership. We let the council know about the costs that we discovered and the amount of time a city staff member that would be needed to support the Main Street America program. And then we went on to indicate that our recommendation is not to proceed with that program and instead to focus efforts on an in-house staff person to conduct those efforts.
Great, thank you for that response. So with that, I'm going to turn to the council. Is there a motion?
I move to approve consent items.
Mayor, it looks like we have.
Did you have a comment on the consent calendar? Okay. I haven't read it yet. Okay, so, all right, is there?
I move to approve consent items 9A through E.
A second.
Okay, and all those in favor, say aye.
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 And no opposed. Okay, thank you. So we will move to public hearings then. Citizens may speak regarding a public hearing item, should fill out a speaker card prior to the completion of the presentation by first providing a speaker card to the city clerk. Let's see, we have item 10A, which is approval of the updated user and regulatory fees and master fee schedule. And the action requested is adopt a resolution per staff recommendation. So, Markeisha.
Yes, so I just have a verbal report tonight. The staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution updating the city's user and regulatory fees and the updated master fee schedule, which would go into effect on July 1st, 2024. So just to give some background, user and regulatory fees should be set according to the estimated reasonable cost of providing the service. In the spring of 2022, the city did conduct a comprehensive user fee study on all city fees. At that time, a cost of services analysis was done on all fees to set those at appropriate rates. And the goal of that is to recover up to 100% of the cost of providing the various services that the fees are set for. In some cases, the city is not able to recover 100% of the costs, such as in the recreation area, but we set those fees accordingly. The city's revenue policy for user fees and charges is the framework that we work within to set the fees. It is a component of the financial and investment policies, and it is included in the policies presented here tonight. And it empowers the city to recapture through fees up to the full cost of providing specific services. It also calls for regular and consistent review of those fees, which we do on an annual basis. And each year, they're set at the direction of the City Council, and the metric that we use to increase the fees is the CPI growth. So specifically, the CPI growth for the San Francisco Bay Area region. So the CPI growth for this year, which was used to increase the fees for this cycle, is 2.4%, and that's based on the growth from February 2023 through February 2024. So most fees will increase by 2.4%. Except for those that have other stipulations attached to them. So some of the planning and building fees, for example, are set by California government code. So the CPI was not applied to those fees. For most other fees, the CPI growth was applied. And then there are a number of fees that are set through a different process. So that would include the development impact fees, which we're currently undergoing a development impact fee study. So we didn't make any changes to those. The wastewater utility fees are not changed at this point because they're also undergoing a fee study. And then the business licenses are reviewed and the rate is set at the end of the calendar year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Any questions, Anthony? Okay, with that, are there any public comments on this item?
No public comments.
Okay, is there, we'll bring it back to council then. Is there a motion?
I move to adopt the resolution per staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and no
Aye.
opposed, so that motion passes. Okay, we will move along to item 10B, and this is to conduct a first reading of an ordinance amending Section 1.02.010 of the Pinole Municipal Code to adopt a new city seal. And with that, our city attorney, do you have the staff report, or?
That's correct.
We'll talk about this item.
That's correct, Mayor Toms. Thank you. Just a brief verbal staff report to tee up the discussion for the City Council. So by way of background, on March 19th, the City Council received a presentation from our assistant to the City Manager, Fiona Epps, and the city's consultant, Trepepi Smith, on the updated city seal and city logo. Following the presentation and discussion, the City Council adopted a resolution approving the city logo and authorizing staff to bring forward an ordinance amending the municipal code to incorporate and formally adopt the new city seal. So the use of the city logo is authorized by resolution. The use of the city seal needs to go through the ordinance process, and that's the item that we have before the City Council this evening. City staff prepared an ordinance for the City Council consideration, which would repeal and replace Chapter 1.02.010 of the Pinole Municipal Code. The new language appears on page 215 and 216 of the staff report and agenda, as well as images of the new city seal. The description that will be included in the municipal code reads as follows. Quote, the seal of the city of Pinole is depicted below. A die, the die of the form of the die shall be 2 circles, one inside the other. Within the inner circle shall be a scene of a hawk flying into Pinole Valley. Depicted in the scene is Pinole Creek with cattails leading to the San Pablo Bay, rolling fog, oak trees nestled in the foothills, and the sun behind the hawk's silhouette. The scene shall be bordered by an acorn pattern with a green and gold ring enveloping the outside of the inner circle. Within the outer circle of the upper part of the circle shall be imprinted the words, "The City of Pinole." On the lower part of the circle shall be imprinted, "California," and on the right and left sides of the circle shall be the date of the city was incorporated, which is 1903. 4 stars shall separate the 4 worded sections in the outer circle. The outermost circle shall be a gold ring. The city seal can also be applied in monochromatic color schemes, end quote. So the text is followed by the 3 different images of the new city seal as they appear on page 216, and that's how they will appear in the Pinole Municipal Code if adopted. On March 25th, the Municipal Code Update Subcommittee reviewed and approved the proposed ordinance that is being presented here to the City Council this evening. The staff recommendation is that the City Council conduct a first reading and adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 1.02010 of the Pinole Municipal Code to formally adopt the new city seal. I did want to note just one minor edit that I saw in the proposed ordinance. The ordinance as presented in the staff report references Chapter 1.02.0. 0.020, and it's actually 010. So that change will be made on the second reading and before it's formally approved at our next meeting. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from the council?
No. Well, comment. Thank you for the verbal description of the seal. I could imagine that and checked against the monochromatic version here. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Councilmember.
Just want to say thank you to all the staff and everybody that worked on this, along with the community group and to our ad hoc committee. I think this was a huge undertaking, but very successful. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, and I would also like to commend the subcommittee for working on this and the members of the Ohlone community who came out and participated in developing the seal that is more respectful of their culture. So with that, I will open it up to the public.
Yes, I do have a card from resident and citizen of Pinole. You can go ahead and take the podium.
Greetings, Madam Mayor Toms and Council Board city members and the citizens and residents of the city of Pinole, because that's what really matters. Citizens and residents of Pinole. I was born and raised here, and this is my hometown, and I'm back. And I was taught as a young child in elementary school about the story about how the city, the name Pinole, was created, and how the settlers came in. And when the Indians were making their corn, their cornmeal out of acorns and mush, they had actually, settlers ran out of provisions. And it was the Indians that offered them provisions and shared. To me, that was really very special. I did a book report on it and its history. This seal, the city of Pinole, was beautifully created. I think it's amazing. To take that away is to take away history and the kindness and compassion that the world needs right now. And the city of Pinole, many people, I went around and spoke with many longtime residents, new residents, and most people don't know the history of Pinole and that story. And Pinole means cornmeal in Indian. So to take that away, I oppose, I object. I would like to see more consideration. It was during COVID that this time that all of these things were done, and most of the people in the community do not know about this at all. And I've spoken with them, as well as the children. I would like to oppose this, and I would like to present myself as a citizen, but also representing all the people that I spoke with in the past few weeks when I just found out that this was happening. So I thank you for your time. I would like to find out more information about the forming of this, how much money it would cost to actually replace, and really consider my words representing the citizens and residents of Pinole and the future and our children of America, that we would keep the history and honor our Native American Indians, because it's beyond the Ohlone tribe. And I want to thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And next speaker?
Rafael Menes.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council, staff, members of the public. My name is Rafael Menes. I'm a resident of Pinole. And tonight I would like to speak in favor of the council adopting this seal. As a resident of Pinole, I think it's important that we adopt this seal for a few different reasons. First, it was adopted through a detailed consultation process with the relevant local tribes who stated their objection to our existing seal. That's what started this whole process. The existing tribes, the people who were honoring in the seal, said, "We don't like this seal. It is objectionable to us. We would like for you to change it." Secondly, the new seal, as the verbal description of it noted, has explicit notes of acorns or pinole in it. The current seal has them, but it's less visible. It's basically sort of hollow green shapes. In the new seal, it's brighter white shapes, and it's much clearer than in the old one, in my opinion. And finally, I think that artistically speaking, the new seal is superior to the old seal. It's better drawn, has more detail, it combines more elements of the city of Pinole than the prior one did. So in conclusion, I would urge the council to accept this ordinance and start the process of adopting this seal as the new city of Pinole seal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public speakers?
No, there are no more wait, actually.
No,
there
we've
is-
already, you've already spoken.
There
No, we've already heard from you. Are there any other public speakers?
Yes, there is one online. Telephone caller, last four numbers, 5748.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to echo the last two speakers. They both have made very good points about their acceptance and or dissatisfaction with the new seal minus the Ohlone Indian, with or without the larger size acorns. In fact, there are way too many acorns in there, but it looks a bit too busy for me. I think they could do away with half the acorns that would lend credence to other things in and around and inside one, if not two, of those circle seals. But I guess what's done is done, or it's acorns under the bridge. But I think the city at this point in time should give more back to the Ohlone Indian than just rhetoric, empty shirt talk like they've done with the opening statements on how they respect the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, etc. And many people have asked the city to step up to the plate to dedicate something more than a no Indian seal or a new less minus Ohlone Indian seal to the city of Pinole and the public and the residents. That being said, I think they should put on the agenda an active study, not just talk, because people are tired of hearing of talk. They want action and to nominate a steering committee to investigate naming one of those trails after the Ohlone. You know, we have several open trails with haphazard names, or Pinole Valley Park Trail, which is incorrect, behind the Pinole Dog Park Trail / Pinole Valley Park Trail, et cetera, and
Sir, you have 45
suggest
seconds.
that they utilize this time moving forward to investigate seriously improving that Adobe Road Dog Park Trail and naming it Ohlone, the Ohlone Trail, to dedicate it to the Ohlone Indian, like the city of Berkeley has in several places, the city of El Cerrito, the city of Hercules, with several schools named Ohlone Park and Ohlone Elementary School. But again, not Pinole. City of Berkeley just commemorated a big parking lot and gave it to the Ohlone over there by Spenger's down off of 4th Street, one of the biggest shell mounds in the Bay Area that were inhabited by the Ohlone. So that being said,
Thank you. Any other speakers? I wanted to respond to Mr. Vosbrink's last comment is that we do have a subcommittee, a memorials subcommittee that is Vice Mayor Sasai and I sit on that committee, and we will be discussing appropriately naming something to commemorate the Native people. And so we have not had that meeting scheduled. We're trying to get through a couple of other items, but it is it's something that we're looking to find a date. It has been discussed to go to our subcommittee. So thank you for bringing that up. And I'm going to turn to Councilmember Martinez-Rubin, who was on the committee that worked on the seal, just to give us a recap of the process that they went through.
Thank you. Councilmember Sasai, or Mayor Pro Tem Sasai, Assistant to the City Manager Fiona Epps, and I were on the ad hoc committee that reviewed and also researched multiple forms of seals that were used by cities throughout the country, and the process that those cities underwent to update a seal that would commemorate not only the history of their respective cities, but as well be respectful of the circumstances or changing demographics that we currently have. It is not an easy task to try to satisfy every single resident in Pinole. We know that. It's also not an easy task to inform and much less educate as many residents as we would want on the history of our city. Additional to being on the ad hoc committee, I am an active member of the Pinole Historical Society. And one of the challenges that the society has is to make more popular that history is relevant, both past, current, and future. And not only that, but to inform multiple generations and increasingly new residents of Pinole, whether they are returning from being away, and even if they were born here, but perhaps have not been as involved or informed in the different processes that the city has. The discussion of the city seal, yes, began, I estimate, last spring, when we, as a council, were informed that there was objection by the members of the Ohlone tribe about the characterization of Native Americans on the existing seal. The seal was developed, I believe, in the late 50s, early 60s, and at the time it was designed by someone who was a non-Native person. And as you see behind me, and still on number of items that our city has until such time that we invest to update the seal, the characterization of Native Americans is really more a depiction that represents an anglicized version or the designer's version of what a Native American is. In the interest of, let me paraphrase that, or let me rephrase that, most interested in not being offensive and rather being respectful of all demographic representation here in our current city. The ad hoc committee opted to not have a human figure in the seal. We would never satisfy anyone if we were to continue having a Native American speaking as an indigenous person from Mexican ancestry. I could as well say, why not have someone representing the Mexican a Mexican background? Similarly, other persons from other backgrounds could make just as equal a case. We wanted to avoid that. We wanted to have representation of what is universally acceptable and respected by all of us. And what holds us together is the land and the kinds of natural elements that we all, at different times, over different decades, and certainly since the incorporation of the city, have enjoyed. And even earlier today, there were comments about the importance of environmental health and sustainability in trying to maintain the natural beauty that our city has and the characteristics that it continues to have, such as the hills, and the hills, and the nature that we're surrounded by. So if there is dissatisfaction about not having more indigenous, Native American elements in this, I can tell you that we were very respectful of the input that was provided to us by representatives of multiple tribes that are indigenous of this area. And also we were very respectful of the changing demographics of our city. We are proud, among a number of different things having to do with Pinole, that we are the 6th most demographically diverse city in California. And we probably will continue to shift in that over time. I mentioned the element of time because one consideration that the ad hoc committee had was that now we have a seal that is probably going to be relevant, pertinent, and applicable to our city for at least another 10, 15, 20, 25 years. If we think back at the age of the seal that we currently have, it was developed in the late 50s, early 60s. We're talking about a seal that is about, 65 years old. And so in that time period, there are certainly legacy residents that can recognize that there was value and merit to have a seal as it was designed when they were in their 20s, 30s, or whatever age that was. But nowadays, we have both the legacy residents as well as younger residents coming into Pinole, and as well trying to capture the beauty, again, that ties us all, took us back as an ad hoc committee to think about nature, to think about the characterization of Pinole in its topography, and to continue to speak indirectly, in a way, to the effects of climate change that we have and sustainability and interest in representing in our seal some of that nature, some of that elements of planet Earth that really we are all responsible in being stewards of. So that's what I can tell you about some of the thinking that was had. It was not whatever the opposite of thoughtful is. it was not just a spontaneity that led us to recommend the elements that you see in the proposed seal and adopted seal. It was not a simple task. It was not being neglectful or ignoring that there are historical elements in Pinole. We're very proud of that. And if any of you are interested in continuing to promote the history of Pinole, I welcome you as new members into the Pinole Historical Society. Take a look at the website that organization has, celebrating its 50th year since its founding this year. And we are in need of younger persons that see the advantage of having something that memorializes the city that represents not only past generations, the legacy generations, but as well as current, and also speaks to what is necessary to attend to and be good stewards of in the future.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that recap, and I appreciate your work and the work of Mayor Pro Tem Sasai on that committee. So it's back with the council. Is there any direction, a motion on this item?
City Attorney Casher, I'm not sure whether the motion is to accept the first hearing and continue to second hearing.
Yeah, so we've now conducted the first hearing. So so the motion would be to approve the ordinance on first reading, and it would come back as a second reading on consent at the next city council meeting. So just approve the first reading of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you for that. And I echo what City Attorney just said. I move to approve the first reading.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. And thank you for your input. Now we're going to move to old business. Receive an update on the status of development of parklet outdoor dining regulations in Pinole and provide direction. And we have our planning manager, David Hannum.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members and fellow staff members. Yeah, tonight before you, we want to talk about parklets and dining regulations. And part of the background, the city does have some existing outdoor establishments that were established as part of the general plan update in 2010, as well as the 3-corridor specific plan. Right now, the way our process works is through either an administrative use permit and an encroachment permit, depending if the property being used is city or not, or which is a staff level approval, or a comprehensive design review or a planning commission level approval based on the size of an outdoor dining area. During the COVID pandemic, the city council established an expedited process through an urgency ordinance that would allow for people to have outdoor dining areas. As you're well aware, everybody couldn't do anything indoors, and so a lot of our restaurants, a lot of our eating establishments needed some of those outdoor dining areas to keep their businesses going and moving. And we've been working so far to create a more permanent set of outdoor dining and parklet style regulations. In terms of, just kind of the framework that we reviewed, and part of what the Planning Commission approved basically was defining the categories of outdoor dining, the establishment of the permitting process, describe locations and zoning districts where we would be allowing it, establish standards or design materials, landscaping, how the parklets would look, also establishing standards that address uses of the area, as well as addressing the transition from temporary outdoor eating areas to permanent outdoor eating areas. And at the April 23rd City Council meeting, reviewed the Planning Commission recommendations and took comments and provided us with direction, with basically was the council allowed to extend the active temporary use permits to the end of the year at that time at 2023. You directed staff to review the Old Town Pinole parking and pedestrian safety study and return with suggestions regarding the park reports, including parklets, bulb outs, wayfinding, and other goals outlined in the study. You also directed staff to conduct some outreach with the goal of finding out if there's really an interest in creating permanent parklets and outdoor dining areas within the city areas. The council received an update and took the following action at the December 5th, 2023 meeting. The council basically extended the outdoor dining at Tina's Place and Sue's Place through June 30th, 2024 to provide additional time to conduct outreach and develop permanent regulations if so desired by the council. As the council is aware, at one time we had 10 temporary use permits, but over the course of time and the course of people being allowed to go back indoors, only 2 of the businesses still had their temporary outdoor dining areas. So the council also directed staff to agendize an old business item on February to update on staff on findings on business interviews and setting a schedule for development for the permanent regulations. And on the third direction that staff received at that meeting was to direct that the development of the active transportation plan consider and incorporate recommendations from the Old Town Pinole parking and pedestrian safety study as appropriate. And we've been working, staff has been working with Capil and the group that is preparing the active transportation plan and making sure that we are including areas within the downtown area as part of that plan. So which leads us to the review and analysis. And of course, over the last couple months and following that December 5th meeting, I met with approximately 20 local food businesses that were organized, and I organized them into 5 categories, which were different areas of the community: the downtown, Old Town, the San Pablo Avenue, which is kind of outside the downtown area, Appian Way, Fitzgerald Drive, and Pinole Valley Road. So what I did is through the months of December and January conducted some interviews, both personally as well as on the phone, due to weather considerations and timing and scheduling. And with these businesses, it was pretty difficult. So I was able to get to approximately 20. I included table 1 in your program or in your staff report. And looking at the questions that were asked and the answers that were given. So I'll just kind of go through those. There's a pretty long list of questions and answers, and we were able to get a good representation of the businesses and what they wanted, especially when a lot of the businesses were basically giving me the same response. So we were able to, basically look at combining all the responses for all those particular areas. I outlined the 20 businesses as well. And so, and basically, I think to summarize the whole process, I think all the businesses were interested in some type of outdoor dining area, but there was really something that they wanted to look at, and making sure that the process was very easy to go through, a little bit, minor fee, staff approval, those types of things. They were pretty consistent on all those. And so basically what we did was staff put together a schedule for the remaining adoption of a permanent regulations and outlining, schedule for development and adoptions of this table 2, and the report outlines the scheduling for how we would go about adopting the permanent regulations, which we would look at from this point forward. We would look to come back to the council to consider adoption of the regulations in October 2024, and to be able to put a full outdoor dining and parklet regulations in place, to basically kind of give an update on the temporary use permits. The 2 active spots were permitted remains at Tina's Place and Sue's Place. Both business owners expressed interest in pursuing permanent alternatives while simultaneously being allowed to retain their outdoor dining. The council did extend those permits for both establishments until 2024 to facilitate outreach and permanent regulation development. Pursuant to the schedule in Table 2, there would be a lapse in time between the expiration of the temporary use permits and the development of permanent regulations. To bridge this gap, the council could consider extending the temporary use permit once more. There is no fiscal impact to receiving this report, and so that concludes my report. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any of those. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yes.
Norma.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hannum. So about these regulations, they will take time. So can you tell us what kinds of things are covered in those regulations? Because from what I gather of the report, the different respondents to your interviews in person on the phone pretty much were interested in maintenance themselves, interested in designing outdoor dining areas themselves. They were also interested in having the city provide some guidance as to the parklet portion, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I am wondering whether those regulations cover materials, design, size, limitation to number of people who would be out in those parklets, space that occupies, and I'm going on now, and I may not be on the right track here, so help me out. What would those regulations entail?
No, they will. In terms of size and that, we will be working with the property, the community, the eatery community, on the sizes. So the guidelines will include sizes, what materials are being used. When you look at most guidelines that are being used throughout the other communities in the county, they all have sizes, they all have design standards, they all have some communities have special designs that businesses can come in and pick, what type of design they want, and then, maybe some little modifications, whether they want to add landscaping or something to those designs. So those will all be included as part of the design. Also, in terms of maintenance, there would be, who's responsible for the maintenance as part of the design guidelines, who is how are these going to be public or private, depending on the design and stuff? Because as you've seen in some other areas where when you have the outdoor dining, they have the little fences to in front of their frontage to block their areas off. So all of that would be in design in a design manual that they could choose from or design themselves as part of the process. So hopefully that answers your questions, or would you like, I can go into more if you'd like, but in terms of the encroachment permits, because the parklets and the outdoor dining are kind of two separate entities. You have what we call outdoor dining, such as like at Panera or In-N-Out, where they have, or in the shopping centers that have that. That's more of like outdoor dining, where the parklets would actually be in the right-of-way, the public right-of-way. So there would be regulations on both of those and how we would establish designs and all that for both. And there would be probably some different, in terms of maintenance of who would maintain and all that. And of course, we would have to go through probably some additional permitting with the parklets due to the fact that they're in the street. So we would just need to make sure that that's covered.
Okay, thank you. So you've answered a lot of what the regulations will, well, first you started with regulations and then you went to guidelines. So they're not the same thing, right?
Well, they're all encompassing in the whole program. So you would have like certain, like if you had I'll just say a parklet, you had a 8x20 parklet. Okay, you could have it. You could, as part of the design package, you could have bollards that surround it, or you could have fencing, or you could have certain bollards with landscaping. So there would be some design criteria associated with that, but there also would be the requirement for the size of the parklet or outside dining area, depending if they're using it in the parking lots.
Thank you. And what I'm particularly interested in having happen is that a parklet be designed in such a way that it certainly covers safety, addresses that, not only to the pedestrians, but as well as because they are in a space that would ordinarily be occupied by vehicles or adjacent to vehicles passing by, that they also be safe to the vehicles. I recall receiving email from residents about that concern, and not only the parklet itself. At this point, it happens to be situated in a location where we also have bollards now because of pedestrian safety, and so I'm hopeful that you are looking at both of those elements, which are kind of extraordinary.
Yeah, we're working with Public Works as well and taking a look at also, because some of those bulb outs are also included as part of the Old Town guidelines. They're also part of the parking and pedestrian study as well as, so we're looking to incorporate all of that to make sure that we have a proper placement of certain parklets, especially in the downtown on the side streets, like a Pear or even Tenet, where there is some narrowing of the road in that regard. So those are definitely something that we'll be looking at and addressing as part of this program.
Okay, so additional to safety, which is first and key, there's also an aesthetic element to this, which I think at this point is lacking in a particular parklet. I think the business owner has done as best possible, and it was a consequence of COVID and all the stress around that and the difficulty in meeting requirements.
Right.
But it is not a good look. And in the interest of wanting to have more traffic, pedestrian traffic coming into the area. And I think also because for the business owner, it would be not only is the food great, but presentation also makes a difference. So I think there would be an inclination to ask for monetary assistance from the city. And yet there is a comment in the staff report, if I could have please be provided an explanation, what it means when one reads, direct assistance to business may trigger prevailing wage. So I want to address the early expectation that business owner or owners may have in that the city may provide them or may not provide them with direct assistance, and if so, how that's connected to triggering prevailing wage, and whether that affects the city and or the business owner or both.
Well, in terms of, and I'll try and answer because that's a pretty tricky question. The mainly part of the prevailing wage would be if the city were to construct the parklet. So if there was a design that the city had and then we would come in and install it and do that kind of stuff, there could be something if it's a city parklet that we're putting in there and we're having somebody come in, not our public works crews, but someone else come in and build it, it could be subject to prevailing wage. However, if it is being constructed and it was designed by the applicant and that we approved it and they installed it, that wouldn't be considered a prevailing wage project unless they wanted to pay prevailing wage in that. But they would have maintenance agreements and they would have encroachment permits and they would use those things that would allow for that. So that's kind of that's why I put that in regarding the prevailing wage. So it's just a matter of how involved we were in actually installing the parklets and if we were involved in mainly the installation of them. That was the main purpose for the prevailing wage comment.
So is it is it possible then, is it likely that the city will be involved in installing?
Most of the time, no. I mean, we won't. I mean, we'll just review. We'll review the installation from the applicant to make sure that it meets certain guidelines. Mainly the drainage. The drainage, which is when you're talking about parklets, the drainage is the main issue due to the fact that the parklet usually runs from the sidewalk off of the curb and gutter into that area. So the drainage would be reviewed. That in the engineering for that. So. That part, but no. The other portion is if the city were to help assist in funding or if maybe there'd be a grant program or something of that nature for businesses to apply for or that to do a parklet, and we wanted to include some of that if there's some policies or some regulations if that were to happen as well.
Okay, thank you. And along those lines, there are numerous cities which have these parklets available. Personally, I've visited the city of Claremont, which has a number of different ones, and because it's a city that's relatively small, I'd encourage, if you haven't already, to research how the business owners there and the city staff there have worked together to provide a variety, an assortment of styles, and yet they are both safe and aesthetically pleasing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the chair, if I may, just one minor comment regarding prevailing wage. So Labor Code 1720 requires that prevailing wage be paid on any public works projects that are paid for in whole or in part with public funds, but it can also sometimes apply to private projects that receive public funds. So if we provide some sort of a grant funding that is public dollars that are flowing towards a private project, it may require that private entity to pay prevailing wage on that project. So that's just managing expectations with the business owners. If there is a receipt of public funds, it might trigger their need to use prevailing wage, even if they hire their own private contractor to do the improvements. But we'll advise those business owners on that at the time.
Right, thank you.
Thank you both.
Councilmember Tave, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions.
Okay. I'll open it up to the public then. Do you have any public comments?
Nope, there are no public comments.
And I do see that there is somebody on Zoom that had previously had public comments. I'm not sure if she's stepped away or not. But we have no raised hands and no public comments in the chamber. So we'll bring it back. I'll make some comments is that, like Councilmember Martinez-Rubin mentioned about the existing temporary ones that we have, I would be in favor of letting those expire. We've had comments, I've had numerous members of the public respond on both of them with the lack of parking, dangerous situations for backing out of parking places on both sites. And so I think that, we should let those expire. And if they're not used anymore, maybe they can be removed earlier rather than later. And I would also encourage you to take a look at different examples. I think Columbus Street in San Francisco has some excellent designs for outdoor dining on a busy street that perhaps could be duplicated for parts of San Pablo Avenue, but I know that it's, there's a lot of uses that are competing for that area, outdoor dining, pedestrians, bicyclists, and 4 lanes of traffic. And it's a route of regional significance, so it's, it's a difficult place to plan for. So I think we just need to be very methodical and open to different designs. when that comes. And I look forward to seeing that in October. So with that, if there's no other, do we need to just accept the update? The action?
Yes, and accept the action, and just to make sure that staff understands that you're going to remain with your previous recommendation of December 5th,
Yeah.
that the temporaries will expire on June 30th,
Yeah,
2024.
so it looks like we don't have to take any action.
You've
on
already,
that.
you've already made that.
Yeah, so thank you for that report. We look forward to seeing what the Planning Commission and staff come up with in October.
All right,
So
thank you.
thanks. And I just want to confirm that we have no speaker cards for that, right? Yeah, come up, you need to, provide that to the city clerk while the item is on.
It's that when you talk about things in the meeting time and you want us to present your cards prior to them speaking, a lot of questions come to mind when they're speaking.
Will you please pull your microphone down? Thank you.
Yes, so, I'm not sure if any.
Yeah, go ahead, you can make your comment.
Yes, that is I can ask questions as well, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand all the codes that we're going in regards to the seal and the numbers. And I
We're
don't-
talking about the parklets.
Correct.
Okay.
So does that mean that if those parklets are being expired as of present now, or they expire in,
June 30th of
Okay.
this year,
okay.
the 2 temporary parklets will expire.
Oh, okay, so these are just parklets. This is not just other restaurants that have kind of outdoor. Okay.
No,
Thank
no.
you for clarifying, because that was my question. I have so many questions, and I don't necessarily have a comment about it. I just want to make sure that there are other businesses that can have their outlets, because it's summertime and not very many people do want to go inside because COVID is still here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, all the businesses that currently have permanent outdoor dinings that have been permitted over the course will be able to use those as they were approved, years ago. It's just these temporary ones that were approved as part of the COVID process that are now that will be expiring on June 30th, 2024.
And do you have a list of those? And
They're in the staff report, and there's 2 of them. One is right outside here on Pear Street, and the other one is in the back parking lot behind Tina's on San Pablo Avenue.
And then I have one more question before we end the meeting. When do I do that?
You want to do public comment?
Yeah.
Okay, just give your card to either the deputy city clerk, and that's the next item on the agenda. So we'll close this item. Thank you again, Mr. Hannum. Okay, next on the agenda, we are moving along. We have no new business, and we'll come back to a continuation of our citizens to be heard. And again, this is citizens may speak under any item that's not listed on the agenda. Please provide a speaker card to the city clerk, and I do see we have somebody online, and then we have a speaker or speakers in the chambers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have 3 in the chambers: Rafael Menes, Mary Horton, and then our 3rd resident here, and then we do have an online comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Greetings again, Mayor, staff, members of the public. My name is Rafael Mess. I'm a resident of Pinole. And tonight, for the Says to Be Heard comment, I just have a few relatively brief comments, as usual, discussing the current prevalence of COVID-19 in the community. According to the CDC's COVID data, which you can find at cdc.gov/COVID data tracker #maps_new-admissions-rate-county. The current new admission rate for hospitalizations with COVID in Contra Costa County over the past week was 3.2 per 100,000, which is still a pretty substantial decrease from where it was, say, in February when it was more around 6, or December when it was closer to 10. But I note that we can still get lower. Humboldt County, for example, according to the state, is at 0. No COVID cases in their hospital admissions. So, we've definitely increased in our total, we've definitely decreased our current COVID-19 infection rate, but we still have it spreading in the community. So taking precautions in higher risk environments like crowded indoor areas, wearing a mask, making sure you've got your boosters if you're in the age groups the CDC recommends. I think it's 65 and older these days. Is, helpful to make sure you don't get COVID, because it's still out there and it can still mess you up if you get it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Mary Horton, and just a couple of items, and they weren't on the agenda, I checked. I read an article last week in Google, and I was really disturbed by it. There were 15 cats dumped off in front of the San Leandro Medical Center in cages, and nobody knows where they came from. And KRON covered it, Channel 4, and they are presently at East Bay SPCA. And I just wanted to do a little shout out about this. I believe the ordinance is we can have 3 dogs and 2 cats, or it's 2 cats and 3 dogs. I'm not sure how that goes. But if you have room in your heart and you have room in your home, consider adopting one of these poor cats. They're being inspected for health and all that. Call 510-569-0702. Okay, again, that's 510-569-0702. Operator standing by. No, just kidding. But they're closed on Monday and Tuesday. So that means tomorrow morning, Wednesday, you can give them a call and maybe adopt a cat for a forever home. The other item is I want to give a little shout out to the Pinole Police, because you probably know there's a lot of shoplifting going on, organized crime rings and this type of thing. And apparently they apprehended a shoplifter with significant merchandise in the parking lot, in the new store, for heaven's sakes, Nordstrom Rack. And the retailers there are very distressed. You probably know that with Pinole Vista, it doubled our sales tax base. We get a lot of money from our stores, and we don't want them all going to Amazon. We do want our stores where we can shop. So maybe, Madam Mayor, I could talk to you offline, because we used to have a business alert program, maybe that partnered with the Chamber of Commerce, and kind of like a neighborhood watch for retailers, because some of them are talking about leaving Pinole Vista in that area. Staples being one. I use Staples all the time. TJ Maxx is talking about it. Everybody's jittery about what's going on, and some of the residents don't feel safe shopping there. So I'm wondering if some kind of cooperative coffee clatch could go on to talk to the retailers about how they can organize against these crime rings. And it looks like I'm out of time, but maybe we can talk, Maureen, offline. I would be happy to support that any way I can. Thank you.
Sure, and I know normally we don't comment on public comments, but our Pinole Police Department, they do have beat meetings,
Okay.
for the different beats. And so the one at Pinole Vista, they do have those regularly. I don't know if they're quarterly or what they are, but I think the word does get out to the merchants in that area. So,
The beat meetings.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to help promote that. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is not a comment. This is an idea, and I don't know how to go about it. But I would like to I would like to see how we could have a parade with the high school band, the 4-H club, all the Girl Scouts, the ukulele clubs, different. It could be everyone. With Clydesdale horses, the old fire trucks, everything, everybody's welcome. And I would love to have that old town parade and bring the city of Pinole back to a wonderful celebration and unity of everyone. And I don't know how to go about that. It happened several times here growing up. And I understand there has been some other parades, but I would like to organize a very, very, very big parade with a lot of festivity where we can have people lined up with their chairs on the sides watching as they go by. And I just would like to do that. So do we need approval? How does that work with security? Do we even need security? I think it can be a beautiful thing. So how do you do that in the past? How has other people have parades as of recent for particular? This is not a particular cause. This is a celebration. The city of Pinole and all the different clubs, the garden clubs, the everything. So I would like to start that, and I would like it to be started right around where, let's see, kind of where Foster's Freeze is, and then come all the way down San Pablo, and then go all the way down, and I'd like to even include Hercules if they're interested, and just make it a wonderful thing. So that's what I just want to present. It's food for thought, but I'd like to ask some questions how it's done. And can we talk about it during the city council meeting, or is this something that you can...
Okay, I would direct you to the Community Services Commission meetings. Their next meeting is on the 24th. It's a week from tomorrow. And they meet from 5 to 7 p.m. You can speak during public comment, but I would also let you know that there are other events that don't necessarily have parades, but there is the car show.
Yes,
There is the tree lighting, where there were some discussions last year about doing a lighted parade from the Fernandez Park over to the tree show. So there have been, some discussions about that, but I would bring it up with the Community Services Commission. Okay, thank you.
It doesn't have to be 4th of July celebration, but it could be something. And it'll take time to put together, but I think I can do it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other public comments?
Yes, we do have Angela Vato online.
Can you?
Angela, we heard you for a moment. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to make a comment that I was really shocked when I read last week that you guys had spent money on a consultant to come up with a design for the new city seal and logo. And I felt it was really out of touch with reality of the situations as far as where money could be spent. There's a significant pothole problem in Pinole, and the fact that money was being spent on a consultant that basically came up with a new design for a seal that removed the Indian and made the bird bigger. I mean, you guys could have had that design drawn by a fifth grader that and paid them with like a class pizza party. So I would have rather have seen every single dollar that went to that consultant fix just even one pothole. So you know, I felt like maybe, I mean, to me, I don't understand how you guys can live in Pinole and drive over the same potholes I have to drive over day after day and think, you know what this city needs? A new logo. I mean, I would think that you guys would be like, man, let's get these potholes fixed, not pay a consultant to come up with a new logo. I really just feel like it's really out of touch. And I hope you guys think about that before you spend money on a consultant for such a frivolous item. And, you know, I don't think that a lot of people are able to come to these meetings because they're busy just trying to survive. So I just wanted to give you the perspective of other people that, you know, don't have the time to attend these kind of meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, and I'll note that we just had a discussion earlier on the agenda on the entire seal item, so you might want to look at the recordings to catch up. Okay, Anthony Vosbrink.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Mr. Anthony. I have to adjust my television set. I think, hold on a second. Here you go. For the general public, I'll do this for the city clerk and the mayor. For those of you out in Zoom land, like myself and many other people, the phone-in number to comment on any agenda item or any public comment section 1 or section 2 is 1-669-900-6833 with a web ID number of 893-3500-0272. And you can hit pound and then *6 if you want to speak or mute yourself, on *9 and then *6 if you want to mute yourself. The public service announcement. Since they can't figure out how to put it on the television screen, we pay a lot of taxes and money for the Xfinity and Comcast television company for their monopoly on our television stations in Pinole. Other case in point I wanted to make, and I hate to sound redundant again, but we still continue to have issues up and down Pinole Valley Road and with about streetlight outage issues. Half a dozen or more Green Lantern pole streetlights outages from Henry Street on up through Trader Joe's Shopping Center. Like every pole, if not every other pole, 1 or 2 lights are out. And that's over half a dozen light outages. It's been going on for months on end. And if you ask
Sir, you have 45 seconds.
Or somebody else from TAPS, they say it's a work in progress. Well, we're tired of comments like work in progress or go to this TAPS meeting or go to that and let your concerns or issues be heard. We want action now. That's what we pay taxes for. And I don't know if you or anybody from the city drive around with blinders morning, noon, and night, but it seems so. Okay, and Pinole, San Pablo Avenue, there's still 2 or 3 light outages across the Gables Hotel, just down from the old animal shelter or Sugar City on that side of the street. There are 2 street light outages. But no one drives around at night, I guess, from the city staff that doesn't drive around anymore once or twice a year. They don't do.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments?
There are no more public comments.
Okay, that leaves us to adjournment. And I do have a special adjournment, and I think our former Mayor Horton might know this gentleman as well, and that is Jim Erickson, who was a teacher and a coach at Pinole Valley High School, passed away this week, and he retired in 2008, and he and his wife moved to Arizona, but he was very well-respected teacher at the high school and coach. So I'd like to adjourn the meeting in his memory and in remembrance of Amber Schwartz. And we're adjourning this meeting to our special meeting of April 30th, 2024. So.